Welcome to the Steady Studio. This is our first episode, I guess, of our podcast. But yeah, we're excited to have you here, and we want to get to know you a little bit more, some of the things that you are really passionate about. Can you introduce yourself a little bit? And yeah.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, thank you so much, Alex, for having me here. And I feel super honored to be a part of the very first episode. So what's up, everyone? My name is theoneDNA. I'm an OC-based singer-songwriter, and I'm here talking with the one and only Alex from We Are Steady Studios in OC.
I kind of want to hear a little bit about your artist journey. Like, how did you get started? Where the name even come from? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, the one DNA?
Yeah, I never actually got to ask you where that's from.
Actually, DNA is my initials, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm all about expressing your autonomy and being your own person. I'm all about that. Good vibes only. So that's where the one came about. So I'm my own person. I'm Dewey. There's only one me. So the one DNA. Yeah, short and sweet.
Oh, yeah. Nice. What's your music journey been like? Have you been playing music your entire life? Like, where did you did you pick up an instrument? How'd you know you could even sing? Like, yeah.
So like, I've honestly been singing for as long as I could remember, probably before I started talking. I don't even know, but I started singing at the age of like 5 or 6. But it wasn't up until like the age of like 10 when I realized like I wanted to pursue this as a professional career. And to answer your question regarding do I know how to play any instruments, I took piano lessons growing up. I'm not the greatest, but enough to get by and enough to arrange my music and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we first actually started talking about music production, you sent over your demos.
My demos, yeah.
And I was legitimately impressed. Most people just kind of send over like a recording on their phone or like even just like just really bare bones stuff, but you had an actual like full like production with like percussion and synths and like a lot of like strings, a lot of different like elements that I think makes a really unique sound.
Thank you.
So I know at that time you were talking about starting or at that time you were talking about recording your first ever album. Right. So tell us a little bit more about that. I know that's been in the works.
Yes. Honestly, I couldn't feel any more ecstatic to even talk about my upcoming EP, which is in the works. So y'all stay tuned for that. You can follow me on my socials, the theoneDNA. You'll be caught up to date with all things music, including that EP. To answer your question, so these songs, I wrote them like back in 2019. So they mean a lot to me, and yeah, they've been pretty much like archived like on my computer for quite some time now. So it's been a minute, and I really wanted to bring it like to life, and really get those songs into the hands of the right people that would help me manifest my visions. So I'm super excited to finally share with everyone that in the next couple of weeks, I'll finally be starting the recording process for that EP. And I'm just so excited, for people to hear my songs and my journey, because music is storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And my album is basically that. So I'm really looking forward to, sharing it with people and, establish that connection with my audience. So I'm just super grateful.
As an independent artist, how has that journey been? You don't have a record behind you, like funding the whole process, right? You're kind of having to like figure out the ropes yourself. How's that journey been? Like, so let's take a step back, talk a little bit about your journey in terms of like,
Sure.
Like your musicianship and kind of like when you've decided, like you said you were 10 years old when you wanted to
do this,
do music. Okay. So kind of walk us through 10-year-old Dewey's mind. Like, what is he thinking? What is like the first thing he does that really sets him on this journey of being an independent artist?
So actually, growing up, I was exposed to Vietnamese music first, like long before like I became introduced to like Western music. That was like a little later in life, and growing up, like I would watch like these like Vietnamese productions, and I always had this dream of being on these shows, being on these productions. And so that was pretty much like my goal back then, was to be on these shows. And I remember like back when I was like 10, 11, 12, I honestly don't remember. I I was actually born in Australia.
Oh no,
So
I had no idea. Okay.
now you know. So
Yeah.
I remember my family and I going to a studio back in Australia, and like we were there until like what, like 1 or 2 in the morning, cranking
Yeah.
out like recordings, to send to these productions. And so
Yeah.
like once we were done recording, they put onto a CD, and just had the CD in hand, and with the dream that they'll hear it, and and they'll sign me. And as an independent artist, it definitely has its moments. It's really hard, and oftentimes I would feel like incredibly discouraged, because like I don't know, it just sometimes feel like I don't have the support from a lot of people, and it can feel incredibly lonesome at times. But I guess like what keeps me going is constantly reminding myself like what my purpose is, like what my intentions are, knowing that this is something that I want to do. This is what I feel I was born to do. And I feel like just having that mentality, just having that perspective really helps keep me going.
And how old are you right now?
I'm 25.
You're 25. So from like 10 to 25, it's been a 15-year journey.
Yeah.
And
Still going.
yeah, and even in 15 years, it's taken like that amount of time to even just be where you are now.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
Definitely a lot of growing pains, and definitely a lot of learning experiences, that's for sure. Within that 15-year time frame, within that 15-year time frame, I've definitely learned a lot, grew a lot, experienced a lot. I'm proud to say that I've had great opportunities to network with people, performed for like prestigious events, incredible people. So those experiences that would never be taken away from me, and I will always be grateful for them. But at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, it can feel pretty discouraging, because like all these experiences are great and all, and I would never take those for granted. But I definitely feel there's always more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
I feel like a lot of independent artists are always just pushing for this like breakthrough moment.
Exactly. Where I can say like I made it, and I feel like I'm
Yeah.
not there yet.
Yeah.
I know I will be,
Mhm.
but that's not where I'm at the moment.
And you kind of mentioned that it can get discouraging. How do you work through those emotions? Like not everyone is on their, it's not a race against everyone else, right? It's kind of like you got your own journey that you're going on. Some
Yeah.
people, quote unquote, break through and
Right.
make it in like 6 months to a year, right? Lucky few of those.
That's
right?
great, yeah.
A lot of people that are doing it, maybe 3-5 years. And there are even people that have been doing it for more than 15 years that still haven't, felt like they've hit that point of like breakthrough.
For sure.
Like what pushes you through those discouraging moments in these past, the past years that you've been doing this?
Right. Honestly, just I mentioned this earlier, just like having that positive self-talk. It's definitely easier said than done, but you just got to put yourself in that mindset. No matter how difficult it can seem, like in that moment, you just got to force yourself. Like otherwise, like you're never gonna get out of that dark hole. It's tough, yeah, but you just got to do it. You're basically like in survival mode. So like just trying to constantly like remind yourself, reassure yourself that I know it's hard now, but it's gonna get better. Trust me. Like you love music, you love to sing, you wanna share your story through what you love doing. You're gonna get there. And then just being surrounded by like great people, and like networking with great people, being surrounded by positive influences, you being one of them.
Aw, thanks,
yeah.
man.
So just like all of that, like holistically speaking, it definitely plays a role in like in overcoming those adversities. Yeah, as an artist, and also as a person too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things for me has been just sort of like it just feels so lonely a lot of the times.
Yeah.
It feels like there's very few that really can understand the struggle, or like kind of like the loneliness the loneliness that you kind of
For
really
sure,
go through, like
I
just
agree.
pushing, because at the end of the day it's like it's up to you. Like if you want this
Right.
and you want to be doing this, like that's all on you to push through even through the hardest times.
Exactly.
And like you know, like yeah, like as much as like I love my friends and family and everyone who's like supported me through the years, but I know like like their support means the world to me. You
Of
know,
course.
it's what helps me get through the years.
Right.
But there's so many moments where I find myself like almost about to break. You know, like just like I'm
Yeah.
at my I just can't do this.
Yeah, your tipping
anymore.
point. Yeah, I feel you.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we put ourselves through this. You know, I think maybe it's just I don't know what it is, but there's just a sense, kind of like this inner spirit, or like the sense of like I just have to keep pushing through. I just can't give it up. You know?
Right. And to branch off that thought, and I know like we kind of talked about this like off camera prior to this podcast, that like inner like ticking time clock.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so self-destructive. Like we often like find ourselves like, you know, comparing ourselves to our peers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that definitely, you know, like can take a toll on one person's, you know, self-esteem, and you know, oftentimes like, you know, like you question like yourself, like, damn, like everyone's like, you know, off doing their own thing. They're on their way to, they're on their road to success. And well, what about me? Like, I feel like I'm like plateauing or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? So that's really the spirit of comparison, right? It's
Yes.
you're comparing like where you're at to where someone else is at, right? You look up ahead and you're like, oh, that guy has it made so much more than I do, right? But I've found that in reflecting on my own years, right, of like where I am today versus where I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? I've grown so much and so
Right.
significantly, right?
Right.
But despite that growth, as long as I kept this mentality of comparison, I always felt like it wasn't enough,
Right.
right?
Right.
Can you relate to that at all?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I set like extremely high expectations on myself.
Yeah.
So when I don't meet them, like I like beat myself up like so much. Yeah, like it's definitely an unhealthy mentality to like you know, to you know, be immersed in. But again, like you said, I just really try to not like let these distractions get in the way.
Yeah.
I want to focus on my personal growth, and if I know that from where I was 5 years ago to present me, if I know that I had made like any form of improvements, then I should give myself that credit, right?
Yeah.
Give credit where it's due. And I feel like that's something that I've always, you know, struggled with. You know, just being like way too hard on myself and not practicing self-compassion. And I guess like now looking back and just being reflective on my life, I can now confidently say that I have come a long way.
Yeah.
I have so much more room to grow, of course. Like, you know, I'll never stop growing until I, you know, take my last breath. I know that was a little dramatic, but it's so true. But I know that I've grown a lot, and I'm just super, you know, thankful to be where I'm at today, and to be surrounded by great people, to do what I love doing, and, you know, knowing that where I'm at in my life currently, I feel like things are finally shifting in the best sense. And, you know, despite, you know, what's going on in our world currently, you know, with the whole pandemic and just a lot of like heartbreak and negativity and just a lot of, it's just a lot for one to internalize, you know? So, so with all, you know, things considered, you know, for me, like, I just feel really grateful, you know, to be in the position where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dude, I think you said a key word there, which was grateful, you know? And I think we as humans just, and I don't know, maybe I'm just talking for myself, or maybe others can relate to this, but I feel that I'm not grateful for the things that I have today until like down the road something happens and I realize, oh man, like I have so much, you know, like I have it so good, right? And yet I have so much to be grateful for, yet I live in constant like survival mode of like, this isn't enough. Like I feel like a failure every day. Like, you know, like all of this is going to fall apart the moment that I hit the brakes a little bit. Yeah.
You know what, Alex, like I can definitely resonate with you in that. Like, like the word, or I guess like two words like that stuck out, was survival mode.
Yeah.
For years, like I was in that position,
Yeah.
and just like the fear of uncertainty,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, like it's such like it's not a good position to be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally feel you.
Yeah. I want to dig a little bit into, you mentioned that so were you born in Australia?
I was born in
You
Australia.
were born in Australia. How did your family end up in Australia?
So my parents were born in Vietnam, and
Yeah.
they immigrated to Australia like in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But they met in Australia. They met at their local church.
uh-huh.
They got married, and then they conceived me and two of my younger brothers. Yeah.
Got it. And then when did you guys make the switch? When did you guys move out to the States?
Over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Got it. So,
The American dream.
oh, yeah. Dude.
All the rage.
Yeah. So I definitely think survival mode, like the mentality of survival mode, is something that we inherit from our parents.
Oh, for
Like,
sure. Yeah.
Right? Because I see it so much in myself. And this is something that I've been, so full disclosure, like, I've been going to therapy myself, and I've been working with my therapist on sort of like, why am I constantly like anxious? Why, like, even like on like the weekends when I'm trying to relax or when I'm on vacation, there's never a moment where I feel like I could just turn my brain off. And there's this always lingering sense of like, the moment I like kind of like let go of my problems, or like kind of like try not to focus on it, like the world's gonna fall apart. And
Right.
I think, and some of the things that we've been processing in therapy has been like, oh my gosh, this has been ingrained in me since I was a child, because all I saw was survival mode from my parents,
Exactly.
because they literally were living in survival mode, right?
Right.
Because they actually had to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially as immigrants. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my parents are first generation Korean immigrants,
Right.
straight from South Korea, flew all the way out to, they flew into LAX.
Like a
and
brand new world for them, yeah.
And they didn't even speak English.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. And back then, like, if they didn't work or if they weren't able to pay the bills, like they would literally get like, so my dad was the first of his family to immigrate. And so like, if he didn't pay the bills, he had no one to fall on, right? Like he would be out on the streets, right? Whereas for me, no matter how much I screw up, I can always move back in with my parents, even with my wife, as embarrassing as that is, right? But there is this, at least this some level of like safety net,
Yeah.
right? And I think being able to speak the language, understand the culture, kind of be able to communicate with just anyone that I meet on the street, like that puts me in a place where like I can figure out any kind of situation that's thrown at me.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas my parents, like, to be honest, like they got taken advantage of all the time because they didn't speak the language.
There are barriers. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to like stray too far from the topic, but like definitely like survival mode is something that I am now like aware that I get into, and like for me that affects my mental health a lot.
Thank you for sharing with me, Alex.
Yeah.
Like, no, like I totally, again, like resonate with you on all the things you just shared with me.
Yeah.
No, like mental health is like so important. I mean, like as a society, like, we've made so much progress, which is good, but just like everything else, there's always, so much more that we
Yeah.
can improve on. Like just like
Yeah.
having, open-ended conversations about like mental health and like
Yeah.
destigmatizing like mental illness.
Yeah.
I feel that's so important.
Do you feel like you've been able to talk more about mental health with like close friends?
Oh, for sure.
family, even?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in therapy actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in therapy for quite some time actually, and honestly, like it has helped me so much.
Yeah.
And I just feel really fortunate to be in a position where I do have access to these resources, and I know that there are many people out there in the world like who don't have the privilege,
Yeah.
to these
Definitely.
resources, and I feel like it's something that we need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like making it more accessible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely something that we really need to prioritize.
Yeah.
Just like how we prioritize physical health. That's important,
Yeah.
but mental health is just as important too. And they both
Exactly.
and they both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like if you're not in the right state of mind, it'll manifest to like, physical symptoms and then vice versa.
No, for sure. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Exactly.
That's what I'm realizing about like kind of our health. It's yeah, like our physical and our mental health is so tied together, and I think that it's also very tied to sort of our health as creatives too.
Yeah.
Right. I noticed that like definitely like the hard times can serve as inspiration for some of the things that
For sure.
I work on in the future, but at the same time, like my creativity suffers so much when I don't take care of my mental health.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even like tell you like how many times like I found myself in that position
Yeah.
where like I would feel like incredibly burnt out, like super unmotivated,
Yeah.
and where like I don't even have like the energy like to like to work on anything, like even my music. And at that point, at that point, that's when I know like it's becoming a concern, but like like knowing that
Yeah.
what I love doing the most,
Yeah.
I can't even like find like the energy to do that.
Yeah.
Because I know that my mental health like is not in check,
Yeah.
and I need to prioritize. I need to take care of that.
It feels almost normalized that artists just have bad health. You know what I mean? Like it's almost
I see
like
what you mean.
we're talking off camera just not too long about grit and determination and hustle and like how like
Working like
you're-
17-hour days, like 6 days a week, and,
Right,
And,
and
if you
it's-
don't like fall in that criteria, then you're deemed a failure, and you're never going to
right
succeed in life. Yeah.
almost like culturally speaking, like
Right.
if you're not doing that, then maybe you don't want music enough, right? Maybe you don't want to be an
Exactly.
artist enough,
And you feel
right?
guilt tripped.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to take breaks. And okay, honestly,
Yeah.
not here to shade anyone, but like if your mind and body is well equipped to handle 16, 17-hour days,
Yeah.
6, 7 days a week, then go for it. Like
Yeah.
you do you. But then not everyone's the same.
Yeah.
People have different thresholds, right?
Yeah.
So if another person can only handle 4 days a week, 8 to 10-hour days, that's fine. You shouldn't, shame them for it.
Yeah, definitely. And dude, I love like when I listen into like sort of like interviews by other artists. I just recently watched there's a film composer that I love his works, and he kind of talked about his sort of like process, and like he has his home and his home studio in LA, and he was talking about how like he's a full-time musician, and he was talking about how like he wakes up in the morning and he just takes care of his life,
For sure,
He makes
yeah.
his coffee, waters his plants. He just has a very normal sort of like
Routine, yeah.
just routine to just kind of take care of himself,
Right.
And then like after he's taken care of all of his stuff, then like he can feel like he can kind of sit down and like let his mind do the creative work of like writing music. right?
Exactly.
And he might not start until like 10 p.m. And then like he'll write for like 2 to 4 hours and be like, that's a day. That's
Exactly.
And I think when I hear stories like that, it's so refreshing because I love hearing that can be a reality. Like if that could be a reality for one artist, I feel like that can be a reality for even more artists.
Exactly.
Right?
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people like just like make a lot of assumptions like of others. Like
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on in their lives unless like you like explicitly ask them. Like you don't know what's what they're going through like at
Yeah.
that moment. So I don't know. I feel like people in general need to be a little bit more compassionate.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
What sort of advice would you give to someone who is chasing their passions, their dreams, and they feel really discouraged and they feel like, they've been chasing it for a long time and their mental health is clearly suffering, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, right? Maybe it's taken a hit over the years. What words do you want to say to them?
Honestly, just based on my own personal experiences, as tough as it can and will probably get for many, honestly, again, knowing your intentions, know your value, know your worth, and if you strongly believe that this is something that you want to do, then you're gonna do all it takes to like maintain that like mentality, like that perspective, and just know that whatever it is that you're going through, it's only temporary, and it can get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, just be consistent. But obviously, like health always comes first for anything else. If you feel like you're not in the right headspace, whether it be like, physical, mental, both, you know, you definitely need to reevaluate, things at that given moment. So prioritize your health first. And then once you feel like you're in a better headspace, get right back on track. Yeah. And, with music, like, I guess, like I'll just use music as an example because, I'm an artist. Music, it's great because, it can do multiple things. Music is a form of therapy. Music is a sense of healing. So I just love, that about music, like that that component, so it's a very cathartic experience.
Dude, I agree so much about being able to take a step back, and not just like taking a step back for a weekend vacation or a getaway.
Right.
I'm talking like being able to like let go of like, you're juggling a million things and being able to just put it down.
And to not feel bad about it, and to not feel guilty about it, because trust me, based on my own experiences, once I let that go, the minute I come back, most of the time I come back feeling more inspired, and whatever it is I create comes, much more. It comes from a much more like organic place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's something that we really need to, like normalize. Like taking breaks.
No, definitely. I love what you said about being able to take a break away from everything that you're doing, because like when you're in it, it could be so hard to let it go, because it's almost like, gosh, like how can I, but the moment that you allow yourself to actually put things down, take a step to like just go take care of yourself, right? Like before you can like express yourself creatively and be an artist, like you gotta at least like sleep, eat, like exercise, like do like these basic bodily functions. If you can't even take care of your physical and like being able to like take care of your mental health, right? Like that is like the basics of being a human. And I think as we learn to be better humans and better just taking care of ourselves that way, like we can learn to be better creatives.
For sure. I will say this, like not even like just for us creatives, but like people in general. Like the road to success, it's grueling, it's tough, it's not going to be easy.
Right, it's a marathon.
No, basically. But through that process, if there's a piece of advice that I will give, never lose sight of who you are, because the moment you lose sight of that, your autonomy, it can lead to some issues, and it's not worth it. So that's definitely something I really want to like emphasize on. Like know your worth, know who you are. You know yourself better than anyone. So
that's amazing.
That's it.
Preach, man. That's an amazing.
We're going on a tangent here, but I mean we could be here all day. But
well, clearly there's so much more that we could talk about, and we can really get into the depths of everything that we brought up here. So I'd love to have you back. Maybe we'll do another cover and like another episode of the podcast.
I'd love to. Thank you.
If you haven't seen Dewey's cover, make sure you check it out on our YouTube. It's going to be on our channel. He did a cover of Dancing with the Devil by Demi Lovato. Amazing vocals, amazing performance. So I encourage you to check it out. Dewey, where can they find you?
So, again, thank you so much, Alex, for your support. And I'm so glad we connected. And you can check out all of my stuff, all things music, theoneDNA on Instagram, YouTube. I'll try to be on TikTok more.
We're all trying to be on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on there, but I'm on there. I have an account, but I haven't been on. But we're gonna change that. But theoneDNA. You'll be up to date with all of my music and just like festive things going on in my life. So I appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and I look forward to having you be a part of my journey as we all navigate our way to success, right?
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who are out there watching this and you guys want to feel like you're part of some community, especially if you're an independent artist or creative, it can get really, like I said, lonely and hard. So what we're trying to do at the Steady Studio is really build a community, even like digitally first, and then we want to be able to like have like a physical community. Right now, we're still kind of going through the pandemic, obviously. So in terms of like bringing people together in a physical space, that we'll work towards that. But for now, we're going to try to get something up where people can just have more conversations, just be around other artists in a digital space. So if you follow us on Instagram, that's where we will put all of our updates, anything that we're working on. So our Instagram is at We Are Steady Studio. At the time, that is correct. I'm not sure if that will change in the future, but for now it is at We Are Steady Studio. So make sure you go check it out and come join in on like everything that we're doing. We're doing everything from covers to like artist features, and now we're starting to do podcast episodes to talk about things beyond just music. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you guys on the next one.
All right, take care, stay safe,
Bye.
bye.